knowing that you have experienced people in your corner, like you're not super worried when you get a little bit in, you start going, like April sucked. March was okay. And I think March was all right. February sucked and April sucked. And when you're sucking at a run of $250K a month of expenses between marketing and payroll, that starts to suck really fast when you're bootstrapping the company like this. So all my money is here, and so that can fucking irritate you mighty fast, right? So that having you guys in my corner when, all right, what are we doing? How are we figuring this out? And I made that a little bit of data, and we had our quarterly, and I came out and said, hey, we're going to do this. Got on the phone with Christina, said, hey, this is what we're doing. And we just kept an eye on it. And then we broke it down and said, okay, this is what we got to assign. If we're spending that extra $40K a month, this is what we got to assign each week to make sure that we're just not burning that money that you threw out there.
Hey, welcome back to the Profit First REI podcast. Have special guest Joe Theriault on, which he's been on before, but he's doing some pretty awesome things in the real estate space, and he's having a pretty great year this year, and I just wanted to get him on here, showcase what he's doing and some of the things that he's needing. So, Joe, thanks for coming back on the podcast.
Welcome. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I wanted to dive right into it. So you've been in the real estate world how long now? Have you been in this space?
I've been in this this space 10 years since I left my job full time. I've been in this, and then part time buying apartment buildings years before that.
Awesome.
Full time in this, brain damage and plenty of brain damage before that.
There we go. So then tell us about your journey in the last, 5 years or so, where you've been able to start growing a very sizable company. You've got how many employees now?
It's 20 right now.
20. That's pretty incredible. So do you want to talk about that journey of scaling up into 20 employees? And how's that been?
Brain damage. It's like the constant that it's like the theme. It's the theme. We're going to call this the brain damage podcast, right? The title of this, but it's evolved. One of the big things that my business partner, when we came into this, didn't want employees, right? So I was kind of fighting that because I did want employees and I did want to treat people the right way. So that's kind of how it ended up morphing. And I didn't want to be out there doing rehabs. That's what I was originally doing 10 years ago. I was the one still out there managing them and doing them and all that. So how we got there and how we got employees, it's inevitable for me, I guess. It's I've always managed. It's just managing people, and I've always just done it. It's where I end up falling into. So I think there's a degree of I'm a manifesting generator is something that Annie Yatch keeps referring to. So it's I tend to manifest what's in front of me. And then, how did we get there in the past 5 years? It's I think one of the things that really just popped into my head to a certain degree was this, we were on this, we wanted to grow. It was probably just about, I want to say we were just coming out of COVID. We had moved into our last new office, and I had flown out to someone's office and watched their operation. And they were down the road of hire the sales, car sales model, wheel them in, wheel them out, right? Hire 4, keep 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that I didn't like what I walked into anymore during the day. Right? I didn't want to help you. Right. And that's not a good place to be for me. So, and I still had the business partner at that time, and we moved into a 5,000 square foot space, which was a good size space for us to grow into. And I didn't like it. And when I started to buy him out and go down that path, we really started to focus on because we come from the, um, Gary and Susan Harper, right? We come from the EOS stuff, right? And then we had tripped on to scaling up, and some of the coaches, Howard Shore and his bunch, and they really helped us define like the company beyond EOS, and we laid that out into metronome, and we really came up with like what I wanted at that time of like, what do we want to be known for? And I wanted to truly be the best company to work at, like locally. And that was kind of the driving, driving force for a while, and trying to pull up some of the metrics now that we had set back then. And it was,
Okay.
yeah, so that's how we kind of ended up there.
So then tell me about how you drove your culture. You wanted to be the best place to work at, and you wanted to work with the best. So then how did you go about selecting the best? Because this is the thing that everyone struggles with, is finding the right people. How do I get them to stay? How do I make sure that they're going to actually produce that type of stuff?
Yeah. So, in 50,000 foot view, right? Because this is, you basically asking me to condense everything down, right? So 50,000 foot view of where we're at and how did we get there now, right? Like lots of brain damage and lots of, we do have a really solid hiring process now for the company size we're at and what we do. Like if you literally go look at other 20-person companies, you're not like, they're not running EOS, and they're not running this type of stuff. They're running and gunning. Maybe they grew, they don't have all these systems and processes in place. So to answer your question there, it was more of like, we did move to a scale up model to a certain degree. We did really push into top grading, and we took top grading and modified it for us. So the interview process is very, it's like a top grading light is one of the things that we did. We're big predictive index people. Like we live and breathe by predictive index. We've done a bunch of predictive index trainings from Shopper. We've done stuff there, and all the coaches talk in that language. So like we know, generally speaking, what profiles do well in all these different seats, right? In the typical word is 80% of the time, if you get just the profile right, you're way ahead of the curve. So like just that on the front didn't answer the like, how did you get the culture established? Of like, Joe, you can hire the greatest people. And that's kind of just like the quick answer on how did we hire them. And now how do we keep and retain them is what is basically, there's a bunch of stuff that I try and do for them, and I actually give a shit about them. I think that's the like core principle at it.
Yeah.
Is you actually have to give a fuck about them. If you just want to buy stuff and go be a real estate investor, and there are guys that have gone way faster than I have, bought way more. I'd challenge you on how much they've changed, how many people's lives they've changed. I wish that was a KPI that you don't see, because I saw the other day, I was like, man, that guy started at the same time. He's like rocket ships ahead of me. And I'm like, man. And then I think, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably not in the grand scheme of things. So the overarching, to answer that, is you have to give a shit about people. But you're like, okay, Joe, I care about people. All right, let's dial down on that. What does that look like, right? What does that?
Yeah. What's that look like?
What's that look like, right? So that's so much. So I'll go down the 25,000 foot view would be one of the things that I do is I give everybody access to the people that I have access to that took me 47 years to get access to, right? That's life changing, right? I wish that would have happened for me. So I just shortened your learning knowledge gap. So 25,000 foot view, and now we'll get down into some of the nitty gritty of like the employees. I quit them with Annie Yatch. right? We got sales issues or people are trying to work through stuff personally. I put them through the same coach that I'm using to fix my personal life, my professional life, like stuff that I pay really good money, and people that go down and meet with Andy for a weekend pay exorbitant amounts of money to go do a program like that, right? I take them, we do a 1-year plan with them. I break down every single one of their things that they want to do in that year and help them achieve it. Walk them over to the bank, make banking introductions, set them up with my accountant, not through somebody else. And like whatever it is, like I'm truly trying to impact their life, right? So just that there of what it could be in their financial side. Like some people didn't even have financial goals on their stuff, right? It could be relationship, eating, food. Like I'm pretty balanced most of the time, pretty balanced person across like the 5 channels of things, right? So that I think is one of the biggest things, but I mean, the obvious stuff of, to a certain degree, is all the stuff of what every company should be to be a legit company, of like the paid time, like all that stuff, like paid time off, health and benefits and insurance and all that. The 401k, we're 3% company match. Not a lot of real estate guys are doing that type of stuff. Their 401k, I spent a bunch of time last year on making it so you can buy real estate with your 401k. Everyone's going to say it's not possible. I'm going to say you just don't know how to do it. It is possible. I've done it. You have to set the 401k up the right way within the trust. So like really being able to do that stuff for employees. And yes, there's lots of benefits for me as an owner. But those aren't things that people normally have options to. And we just took everyone down to Puerto Rico in January, all paid. We all stayed in this big, huge place. Like that's, yeah, not stuff that 20-person companies, maybe there was only 15 of us that went, 12, 14, whatever. I don't know, bought out like my VA that's been with me for years in the Philippines. I bought out her contract this year. You know what I mean? Say, come on to the company, you've been with me forever. Like you can change their life, just paying her $15 an hour in the Philippines. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's the stuff that you can do. I gotta sell you to come fucking work here. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like that, fucking go work somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, no, that's incredible what you've been able to do for them and what you've been able to create that change in their life in a tangible way where you're actually making a difference in their daily life and in their work life, and allowing them to also have access to all those people that you've gained knowledge and access to over the years, which that makes a personal difference in their day to day. And you too, you do care, and it shows through those actions, which is awesome. So I love hearing that. I think more people need to hear that and need to hear that in the real estate space. So I commend you for that, and I'm glad that you brought that up here on the podcast. Let's switch gears to the financial aspect. Like, you've been working with us for a long time. You've been working with Christina. Like, talk about that process and just talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go into the JV and the mobile home parks and all that.
Sweet. Yeah, that journey is, still a strong relationship. You know, you've always got along, and there's a mutual respect there for the both of us. And the Christina has been with me before I bought out the business partner when I was nervous about the money. And that's when I contacted you guys. That was the guy who liked to contact you guys, to be honest with you. I was like, I have to run this company, and I don't know fuck all about like how to really manage that kind of money, you know, besides in and out, you know, income, expenses, right? Like that's all I really knew. So that has evolved over the years. We're probably at 4 years now. And actually, it's probably right there. It's probably 4 years. And somewhere in that realm anyway. And, it's, like, and again, it's going to take me a second to kind of like get my brain firing on all that stuff of like going there for a second on the stuff is trying to kind of get it going here. Bear with me. So, all right, here's some stuff that like a fractional CFO, they usually don't probably fly to their client's office and bring their family up and spend time with each other and then go down to Boston with their family and spend time with their whole family down in Boston, right? Like that's probably not what happens with not many of my fractional people want to spend time with me. Right? I'll tell you that the only fractional team that's actually come up to spend time with me, and her husband's a very successful real estate entrepreneur as well, or whatever investor, whatever you want to call it, right? So, that alone speaks an amount of volumes to the that same type of authenticity that I align with is important for me anyway, just from an emotional standpoint. Never mind, because this money and all this stuff is very fucking dry. And I got spreadsheets in front of me from you guys, right? Like that stuff dry, and it can get, most financial people are very dry that I've met in CPAs or whatever it is. It's like, I am a robot, and so really the big thing nowadays, as like we're coming into having some of the best months that we're ever having right now in the history of the company and we've grown, and we set the budget at the beginning of the year together, me and Christina, we do all the planning for the year, take a look at everything we did. Hey, how much do we want to grow? We usually do that before the quarterly that comes in for the annual planning. I'm already kind of prepared about like, hey, where do I want to go with my, with Christina, my CFO is through you guys, is, okay, I already have an idea. Now, can I get the team bought on at the quarterly, right? For the beginning of the year. Well, what ended up happening this year was Q1 sucked. I saw that we needed to throw some money in. I didn't talk to Christina and said, I'm going to deal with this fallout, and basically threw an extra 40 grand at market in that coming into Q2, because I saw that direct mail for every 4 leads we're getting a contract. So data did show me like, hey, if we did this, I could make us really successful for Q2. But I'm kind of going to the point now of, now we had that, and now we had 40% of growth. So not only did we grow, we also assigned $2 million in assignments and novations in Q2. So I could see some metrics saying, hey, go do this, go do direct mail, increase your marketing. We assigned 2 point something million for Q2, which then said, okay, let's keep going. But now what I'm trying to figure out with Christina is, okay, what's Q4 look like and what's Q1 look like? So we're trying to get ahead of some of those things right now, is like where I haven't had these problems to a certain degree before. It's been, we've been working together for a long time. So we got a pretty good understanding of like, she knows when my bank account goes to a certain point, I usually get a little freaked out, right? To a certain degree. But it used to be far worse. It was far worse from years ago, and she laughs now with me about stuff, and now I'm just like, whatever. So, and that just comes from knowing that you have experienced people in your corner, like you're not super worried when you get a little bit in, you start going, like April sucked. March was okay. And I think March was all right. February sucked and April sucked. And when you're sucking at a run of $250K a month of expenses between marketing and payroll, that starts to suck really fast when you're bootstrapping the company. like this. So all my like money is here. And so that can, that can fucking irritate you mighty fast, right? So that having you guys in my corner when, all right, what are we doing? How are we figuring this out? And I made that not knee jerk, a little bit of data. And we had our quarterly, and I came out and said, hey, we're going to do this. Got on the phone with Christina, said, hey, this is what we're doing. And we just kept an eye on it. And then we broke it down and said, okay, this is what we got to assign. If we're spending that extra $40K a month, this is what we got to assign each week to make sure that we're just not burning that money that you threw out there, right? So,
Yeah.
and you've asked me like 3 questions so far, and each one has been like a 7-minute answer. So, I could that
No, I like it. I like you going into it. So you're really getting into what really matters though in a real estate investor's head, because you talked about the sucky months, but like you feel like that it wasn't as bad this year because you had a plan and you had some data to go off of. I'm sure Annie and like what she does, like what you said, where she helps entrepreneurs like with their internal talk and like with their state of mind, and then having on top of that someone with the numbers, being able to know the numbers and like help you, like as you go into that, it helps on both those angles. So I think what you're doing with your team has also helped yourself as well too, to be able to be like, okay, I can weather these storms and I can go into these different things and make sure that we're being taken care of. And it seems like it's paid off because of your knowledge of the numbers and the data and all of that. So I think what you've done is shown what a real estate investor can do with the right people in his corner. If, like with what you've got going on.
Yeah, 100%. Right? Like, people will kind of look at me like, Joe, man, you pay a lot in consulting. And I'm like, we use Shopper, I have their coach.
Yep.
Use the ramp guys with Benmont and Joe, and they're doing a bunch of coaching with my sales team. Just flew them out here for 2 days. That was expensive, but worth it, right? Annie's here with us every week. You guys are here with us every week. Product Collective Genius, like all of that. Don't get me wrong, like that's a lot of consulting money. I could be like, if anyone wants to give me 50% off, I wouldn't fucking complain. You know what I mean? But in this, if you have a discount code, any one of those reps, I just like fucking name drop for you. But the amount of thing is that I don't see the blind spots, because I'm very forward thinking I'm trying to look ahead for the company and what's coming down the pike and where things are at. Like, let me be that in New Hampshire and Massachusetts and New England. Let me do what I do good. And hey, everybody else can kind of like help out, and I'm willing to take that. And I'm willing to keep that, keep those people around me,
Yeah, no, I love how you've done that and you've gone down that road. And now I want to talk about, since you're in that area, and I want you to talk about like the JV deals you're looking for, and you're getting into the mobile home space. And like, I just love it. It sounds like you're very giving. Like, you give to your team. You obviously surround yourself with the people that invest in you, and so that you become better. So like, what are you looking for? Because we had talked about some of the things you're looking for at this point. So I'd love for you to be able to share what you're going into and talk about that.
I appreciate that. One of the things we set out for this year is I've generally kept my head down and just worked. I've never really come up and been like, I'm Joe, the real estate investor, right? Like, generally speaking, this year I've got on more podcasts, and I've kind of been a little more active on social media, and we've brought in some deals with people that have authentically heard those things from me, like, hey, let's work together, right? I want to do more of that stuff. I want to help more people that JV their deals. Like, I truly believe in New England, in Massachusetts and New Hampshire anyway, and we do a bunch in Maine, that there probably isn't a better operator that knows all the different exit strategies on residential real estate, right? Residential 1 to 4 units type of stuff, right? Of how to move that, how to monetize that the best. I'm really strong in that space, right? Of between novations, installment contracts, owner finance offers, you know, obviously a cash pitch, like all of that stuff, plus the brokerage. Like I'm very good in rehabbing. I'm very good. And I have a track record of years and years and years of running in the black and making money and never losing on deals. I have a really good track record, right? So I have a great track record. So bring your deals to me, right? That's one of the things. Bring them and like, let's do some business together to get more deals closed, right? That's one. And then the thing that I'm really trying to do right now for longer term, like business building and where we got to go, I believe as a company, we need to move into land home packages. So we've done a couple like this, but we're really building this out right now of buying the land and putting the mobile homes on it. So actively start marketing for the land and the mobile homes. I have my rehab manager working on that. And we want to buy a mobile home park, which directly kind of all ties together because then we're putting mobiles in parks as well. We're expanding them. There's just not a lot of them in the Northeast. I'm willing to travel. I'm willing to get my hands wherever I got to go to put my hands into a mobile home park like that. These are my two pet projects. Not pet projects. That's where I'm drawn. There's a lot of alignment.
Yeah. So that's the next place that you're heading. And, like with that vision and planning it out and going down that road. Now, if people did want to reach out to you, what's the best way if they're wanting to JV deals, or if they've got the land for sale, they got the mobile homes or the parks, so how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the Joe Theriault, which is like THERIAULT, right? So on Facebook is really where I'm at. Instagram is Boston Joe Theriault is the other place that I'm consistently on. My wife has told me explicitly not to give my phone number out anymore on podcasts. Or Joe at ipscash.com. Obviously the IPS Cash logo. So if you just kind of remember the IPS Cash, you'll be able to track me down and find me, for sure. If you're interested in selling it.
There we go. We'll make sure then that we'll put those in the links, in the comment, like in the description and the notes and all that. So that way, if you're wanting to reach out to Joe, you can find him there. Joe, this has been awesome because I really feel like you talked about the real stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like, not only do you have to find the right people, you have to keep them, and you actually have to care about them by showing that you care and not just by telling them that you care. And so I like how you gave us specific descriptions of what you're doing with them and with your team. Then from there, having the right people in your corner, not just on the cash side, but like all the different consulting you get. You get consulting for your team. You get consulting for yourself. You get business consultants. You get personal consultants. It's like you are trying to become that human being that is just helpful to other people through the help that you get. And so I feel like that was like a really big piece that was right in the center that we talked about that I really enjoyed. And then if you're listening to this, he's wanting to get into those JV deals more in the New England area and also mobile homes, the land, the parks, everything like that. So you can get him on his Instagram, Facebook, DM him or email him. That's where you can find him at those different links. If you're like Joe as well, where it was several years ago where he came to us and is like, what the heck is happening in the finances? What's going on? You can reach out to us at simplecfo.com. That's where you can find us so we can help you make profit a habit in your business. Joe, thanks again for being on the podcast and being a great guest today.
This episode of the Profit First for REI podcast is over, but there are plenty more where that came from. Are you ready to learn how David and his team can help implement the Profit First system in your business? Schedule a discovery call at simplecfo.com right now. We'll see you next time on the Profit First for REI podcast with David Richter.